Hi, okay, it's Sarah again, and where I left off was in the last one was where I'd basically had a breakdown. So we were put into the Sands Hospital, um, and because they didn't know what to do with us, they didn't believe it was about the baby, and they didn't know where else to put me in the hospital, so they put us in the children's ward, which is opposite the maternity area. As we were coming up the elevator, the obstetrician um, was coming down the elevator, and he saw me, and she was only um, 14 weeks old at this stage, so we were still pretty much on his mind. And so when he saw us and he looked at me, he knew something was really not right. And I remember him saying, don't worry, we'll help you sort this out, and I'll get my partner, business partner, to come over and see you. So because interesting, not enough obstetricians up in Armidale, so he was flying up in the morning to deliver babies in Armidale the next morning when I would have been in hospital. So we stayed overnight, and I slept, and they had the baby in the nursery area, which of course they said nothing was wrong and she was really easy and whatnot. The paediatrician from Castle Hill stood at the end of my bed and said, "There is nothing wrong with the baby, it's all you." So, you know, I was pretty postnatal by that stage, and to have this person who hadn't paid attention to us and had taken our money time and time and time again um, stand at the end of my bed and be disgusting with who and how he behaved with me was really, there was a lot to be said about that, and his bedside manner was pretty crap, and I wouldn't recommend anybody have him as an obstetrician, pediatrician for their babies. Um, so the obstetrician came in and he said that they'd had conversations with everybody, and it looked like I was postnatal, and I had said that I'd already started to take medication because at about 5 weeks I went to the doctor and asked for meds, and he said, well, we think you really need to be really well looked after, and there's a place. I don't really remember a lot of that conversation, except for that until you get a place, you can't go home. So that was a bit scary. Uh, so they gave me the referrals, and I tried to make appointments. And again, if anybody's out there listening that you work in a doctor's surgery, um, man, we're not ringing because we're having a joyful day. That day I interacted with this girl at the clinic in Burwood, and she's like, well, no, the doctor is fully booked until February. I'm like, well, I'm not allowed to leave the hospital until February, until I get this appointment. So they know that I'm going to be taken care of, and they're really scared for my health. And yeah, well, she's fully booked. You'll have to go and see somebody else, which of course, when you've been referred to the best of the best, being given to somebody else didn't really work for me. I also rang the other clinic, which was at St Ives, and the girl there was much, much nicer. And she took down my details and, put me on a wait list. And I guess she could tell the urgency in what was going on. Eventually, I had to succumb to having an appointment with another doctor that I didn't want because I couldn't get into this doctor. And they let us go home on the Tuesday afternoon. So I had this appointment for, I think, not that week, but maybe the following week for this other doctor, which I didn't want to go to because it wasn't who I was originally told to go to. And the lady from St Ives rang on the Wednesday and said that there'd been a cancellation for the Thursday, the next day, and could I get someone to look after the baby while I came and was, got the opportunity to see a doctor. So I made the arrangements and I sorted that out, and I remember arriving at the doctor's surgery. I remember going into the doctor's room. I remember having some conversations with her. Most of it was fairly foggy, and I felt a total failure. And she could see within the first 10 minutes in this appointment that I was in serious trouble. So she made some phone calls and she got me into St John of God Burwood Mother and Baby Unit for Friday morning, because she didn't want me to go through another weekend waiting for the people that were already in the rooms to go home on the Monday. So there was no room for me. This is where I was at. There was no room for me in the Mother and Baby Unit where I could be looked after, where I needed to be, but she was too scared to let me be on my own for another weekend without support and being stabilised. So she made the arrangements for me to be in the facility, the entire facility, and they put me into the drug and alcohol unit because there was no beds. Back then, in 2006, there was 8 beds for women with postnatal depression. And what I learned once I was in there and I was starting to get well again, women were coming from all over. I remembered a lady, I think she'd come down from Newcastle. There was one unit in New South Wales for postnatally depressed women and their babies. And the whole experience was unbelievable. And that I'll give you on the next part of this journey. Thank you.